All right, welcome to 10 Tech Entrepreneurs Nebraska and our Subseries on personal brand equity. I'm Shonna Dorsey, the Executive Director of the Nebraska Tech Collaborative, powered by the Exarban Foundation. And I'm here with my co-host,
Todd Murphy with TrueScope in North America. I'm very honored to be invited by Shonna for our series. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And in a hilarious moment of transparency, because you know how I am.
Yep.
I am laughing because I did not bring multiple outfits and we're recording multiple episodes in one day.
The way I saw it is you have such a deep closet of clothing that because we're recording these months apart, it just happened to come up coincidentally in rotation.
See, you always know how to put a positive spin on it.
I work with a lot of public relations people, so we'll spin it positively.
Cool. So today we're talking about credibility, right?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about not fighting human nature, recognizing who you are. And we talked that if you're an introvert, for example, last time we spoke about this, you need to invoke some strategies to try to push yourself to at least ask somebody a question. Mm-hmm. That can lead to a conversation, and that's where the skills you've learned professionally can start to emerge. Mm-hmm. So if you have been working with can you maybe throw out an example of a program at the Nebraska Tech Collaborative?
Yeah, so let's say one of our initiatives is the Pioneers. So it's like a Leadership Nebraska style type program, cohort based. They meet once a month, that sort of thing.
And when they exit that, they are, in theory, possessing what?
More skills, bigger network, more connections, all of that.
Skills related to
entrepreneurship.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So they exit the program with new skills related to entrepreneurship. And now they're ready to exhibit those skills. So whether they're an introvert or an extrovert, ultimately it's going to come down to, do they know what they're talking about? Mm-hmm. And in those conversations that they hopefully have, they're going to establish credibility. Now, one point I need to make, and it's maybe a disclaimer, is all of the points we're going to make in these series will work for many people. Mm-hmm. But some of these points won't work for everyone.
Right.
Everyone's different. That's something that makes Omaha really good, is the diversity of people we can put on our teams. Mm-hmm. So credibility is one thing I can say everybody has, but how you bring that out and how you talk about it, how you demonstrate that to others is what potentially can get you hired or help you move up in the company you're working for, mm-hmm. and potentially become a leader in your area of expertise.
Right.
But it has to be authentic. Eventually, unless you're in politics, you will be called a fraud if you're not authentic in what you're good at.
Right. And that, I think, is especially true in tech, right? Because it's easy to know when somebody's like over their skis answering questions and not knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I get there pretty quickly. But I acknowledge it like all of the time. And I think that helps versus me trying to wing it. And, you know,
for sure.
That's not helpful.
You remind me a lot of myself. Maybe not in the way we look, but I know enough about what coders do, mm-hmm. and I know enough about what developers and programmers and engineers do that I can talk to them in a way that we discuss an outcome.
Right.
And I can recognize a good outcome. So if a developer and an engineer create a solution that's convoluted and it's very cumbersome for my team or our clients to use, I know that the person who worked on that didn't create the best solution. So it might be in the outcomes where your credibility would be challenged. So faking it gets you nowhere.
Right.
It might give you some short-term gain. If I pretend to be something, I might get a job, but 2 weeks later I might lose that job because they figured out I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. And then it just becomes this like downstream, what's the word I'm looking for?
Dominoes falling.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It becomes a problem that, well, it will catch up to you eventually.
And it's true in anything, any conversation. A lot of people say, like, one of our core values at TrueScope is to be honest and direct. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean open. Like if you're a customer of mine and I failed to finish something by a deadline for you, I'd say, Shonna, I apologize. I told you I'd have it by 2 p.m. I'm going to have it for you before the end of the day. I don't need to share with you the reason I didn't get it done is because, well, there was this really good movie on at lunchtime and I decided to watch it. And then I ordered 2 burritos. So I was feeling full. Clients don't care about that. And to a certain degree, leadership doesn't care about that level of detail. What they care about, or they should care about, is the team member okay? Mm-hmm. Are they mentally and physically healthy? And can they accomplish a goal?
Right.
And so finishing, doing good work, all of that is part of credibility that theoretically may be something that comes out of a program like you teach at the Nebraska Tech Collaborative.
Yeah. And that's so interesting because it kind of is coming back to like, not back to, but in addition to credibility, part of it is accountability, responsibility, all of these things. So just like do what you say you're going to do. If you can't meet the deadline you set, acknowledge it, own it, and then move forward, Yeah.
One of the biggest fallacies is fake it till you make it. I don't have time for that. Any company that is competing today is moving quickly. They're not moving hastily, but they're moving quickly. And if you try to fake it till you make it, it's going to become glaringly obvious. It's, some other examples of that are, what do they call it? Quiet quitting.
Yes.
Don't quiet quit on me. Just tell me you want out, because if you're quietly quitting on me, I'm going to notice it.
Right.
It's like, wow, Shonna used to be awesome. And now she just sits at her desk and stares at the birds out the window all day. What's going on? Now, I would want to check in with you from a mental health perspective and see if, is there any underlying reason? But if you're like, hey, this job just sucks, Todd.
Yeah.
I want out. I would much rather have you say, Todd, this job is not for me. And then I could say, great, let's plan to move you on to a job and let's activate my network of other leaders. Let me help you find a job.
Right.
Because ultimately, if I hired you in the first place, I identified something in you that made you an asset to our team. But if you're not happy on my team, I'd like to take that credibility you have and provide it to another employer who could leverage that and make you happy.
Yeah.
And that's when you get to the thriving position.
Right. That makes a lot of sense too. So yes, this makes so much sense. I'm just thinking about it from a lot of different aspects. So going back to your outcomes from engineers example, just thinking about how that experience, if it's negative on the back end where it's like, wow, this output doesn't quite match what I was expecting. It looks like it's way more complicated than it needs to be. Then you start to lose trust between each other. Not helpful. Trust is hard to rebuild.
Yeah.
And so keeping it is the better play. Maintain it.
Yeah, for sure. So don't fake it till you make it, because once you lose trust, it's going to take a long time to regain it.
Yeah.
And that's if you get a second chance.
Right.
A lot of people won't tolerate it, or you get isolated from the team, which can be even worse. So now you're still employed, but everyone views you as an outsider.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, but that, we mentioned reality last time. This isn't grade school field day.
Right.
We all aren't going to be participant winners.
True.
But hopefully you can find a skill you're good at and that you like enough to be interested in thriving at it.
Yes.
And that's what I would love to see out of this, is all these people who get trained in technical skills. The entire STEM education program is those people find something that they can thrive at. If we became a nation of thrivers, think about how much more competitive the United States would be.
That's true. Okay. And so then while you're on your journey to thriving with 1 minute left as an audience member, and let's say you don't quite feel comfortable yet. So you're a person who's maybe just out of college, you're in your first technical or tech adjacent type of gig, and you're not comfortable saying, hey, look at the code I wrote or something like that. One thing that you can do, which I've leaned on in years past, is to find people who were actually good at the thing I was aspiring to be good at and recognize them on social. It's one of my favorite go-to strategies, is to say, when I think about marketing and AI, who's super good at that is like TrueScope. And instead of me creating some content that's like very rudimentary on this topic, I'm like, look at the expert and here's kind of what I learned, or something like that.
Yeah. Or call Todd. Now you're touching on something that's awesome. And briefly, I'll say, find a mentor. And that's maybe something, when this is posted to LinkedIn, leave a comment. If you would, who would you like to choose as a mentor? Tag him in there and say, I'd love to work with Shonna, or I'd love to meet Todd for coffee, or I'd love to, talk to Richard about podcasts. Any of those things can helpful. And I have yet to find someone who says, no, I don't like meeting with people.
Right.
I'm sure there are people who are too busy, but find someone else.
Yep. And most of those people like us will recommend others. So that's
For
the
sure.
thing. So cool. Well, more good tips. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.